170 pounds, I feel comfortable. I don't feel like this is gonna be my last fight. I have to do some extraordinary shit, is what I'm planning to do. I love this company and I have plenty of fights left, but this is not a fight last or first or whatever, how everybody wants to see it. I feel so fresh. Like it's a completely different look.
This is the guy that was on top and now he's lost all these fights, and it's just like, for some people, their first look at the reality of this sport, really, because this happens to everybody. Like, when is Tony going to stop? How much will we...
It seemed it's like we got to a place in the UFC where the UFC no longer let guys have those massive loss streaks. After, like, you know, we had the really tragic ones of BJ getting smashed up at the end. It's interesting how he's given repeated chances to Tony, and they've even lowered his level of opponents to kind of be more suited to where he's at now in his career, and he's still losing. You know, he's getting finished by people. So it's kind of like, why are we still seeing him around? I'm not saying I don't think it's difficult, because like for Tony, he needs to make money and he's fought all of his life, right? He has given his life to the UFC, so he deserves a spot there. But when someone's losing this much consistently, and a guy that has taken as much damage as he has, it's like sometimes I feel like you got to step in for them.
What's different about Tony, though, especially because someone like BJ, he lost to Nick Diaz and then he retired. And then he came back and he lost to Frankie Edgar and then he retired. He was in and out mentally. Tony, I don't know what's going on, but he still believes in himself. He's still there. He's not talked about retirement yet. He's not mentally quit on himself when a lot of these other guys have.
What makes Tony Ferguson and Barao unique is how sudden this is. Barao and Tony, it was just like turned on a dime. Their career is just forever never the same, and all of a sudden they can't get wins. That's why I think it's mental, because there's this realization that clearly you have to be in some sort of denial to still be competing, and you still think you can win, but you're clearly just not putting out the type of performances.
Do you not think it's the classic case though of like, he is so much more mentally tougher than his body will allow, than the fact that he got so smashed up in that Gaethje fight that he just took damage and completely rocked his confidence and his ability to put things together inside the cage, that it just got worse and worse for him. He put himself through a hell week before fighting Paddy Pimblett. Why? That is not the thing to be doing. And I think everyone believes that. Not just Paddy thinking that, not just us thinking that. I think that was a complete misstep, because this he doesn't know why this isn't clicking. And he's like, if I can put myself through this, I can do anything. I can do a fight. I mean, we had Paddy on here. We talked about it. Yep. The fact that he doesn't need mental toughness. He's had that from day one. That's not adding to his game. That's not helping him get back on the horse in getting a win or performing better in these fights. That's just putting your body through something insane and then going into doing a weight cut. It's like, he's going to be so worn down. And then when it doesn't work in the cage, it's like, nothing's working. I'm pushing myself to beyond limits and nothing's working. So it's just going to get worse and worse.
It's interesting you bring up all the ridiculous, kind of exercises as well, because he's done that again.
Yeah.
120 days of sparring, he said he's done now, and he didn't do that for 7 years. So it's an interesting thing, because it sounds like, and a lot of us tend to do this, where you kind of have this all or nothing. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here, where he's like, oh, well, I just need to start sparring again, so I'll just overdo it, because he is the endurance kind of athlete. So he immediately just goes way too hard in that direction. So now we could be looking at a situation where it's like, are you testing that chin a little bit too much, and will we see a knockout on Saturday?
He's been knocked out badly as well. After that Chandler loss, is like, that was a really, really bad knockout. And he's been dropped by people as well. And not that he has had some moments against guys, but like Paddy's dropping him as well, and people don't think much of Paddy's boxing.
Tony classically got knocked down in every fight he was in. Paddy knocked him down. Lando Venata almost finished him multiple times.
Pettis.
But later on in your career, when you're on a losing streak and you're nearly 40 years old, if he isn't already, it doesn't inspire you to think that he's going back up.
What do we think everyone, like, globally is thinking about Tony right now? Is there still a portion of people who are like, I just want to see Tony fight, I still believe in him? Or do you think most people, like people who are watching this, is like, do they all agree with us, do you think? Everyone's like, hey, Tony, you probably should stop fighting. Like,
I don't think you ever want to watch a fighter and worry for them just competing. You want to feel like the person who's in there is a as prepared as they can be,
Yeah.
and perform to the level that they think they can.
Yeah, it's like watching Dominic Reyes get knocked out over and over again.
Yeah.
And then the last knockout loss, it was just, you just felt scared. You know, it was like you didn't want to see this person get knocked out and take punishment. Like you were scared. You weren't even feeling bad. You were actually scared for that man's well-being.
Whose responsibility really is it to step in and say, all right, enough's enough? Because one of the things that obviously Tony has talked about Media Day yesterday was Dana is outwardly saying the dude needs to retire. Where's the responsibility to lie? Does it lie on the organization, or does it lie on the athlete?
It's an interesting thing. Like, whose responsibility is it to say that you're not allowed to do this anymore? Because Tony clearly wants to. He clearly wants to make money.
But I mean, that's the thing for the NFL and other organizations, maybe even like WWE, like they have doctors that are now retiring people. Edge and Daniel Bryan, doctors are coming to say, hey guys, you can't do this anymore because you take one more bad hit and it's bad news for brain health. It's bad news for a lot of these guys have spinal injuries as well. Where is the doctor intervention from the UFC to say, you know, yes, you can fight because you can pass the fight test, but for your longevity, for your life, maybe you shouldn't be doing this.
To the point with Tony Ferguson, yeah, it's the guy that we've been describing that's doing Hell Week and all these crazy things. That guy's never going to make that decision.
Yeah.
It's going to be when he physically can't move, when he physically can't get out of bed. It's going to be like that kind of guy.
The same as Goggins,
he needs
really.
somebody else to step in. And like, dude, I know that there's always been an argument for this. There are certain type of fans like, how dare you tell an adult what to do? The truth is, I'm not telling him what to do because I can't. You know, like the truth is he's going to have to make that decision, or he'll be lucky enough, that's the fact of it, that somebody near him will say, hey man, it's kind of falling apart. Let's maybe, before your speech goes away from all the terrible CTE, let's be honest, that's the direction it's heading. You're sparring 120 days now. Maybe we try to find out something else for you to focus on in life. And like, I don't know. For me, when I hear somebody say like, oh, you can't tell a grown man what to do, it's like, yeah, no shit. But like, I also can be like a good person to somebody that I know and give a shit about them.
Yeah.
It's like, you're just like, oh yeah, let me get some popcorn and laugh at this guy while his life is getting fucked up. Like,
yeah.
Okay,
and
say that as much as you want.
That's the thing. Like it feels like Tony's been kept around because he is such a cult icon. Like people love Tony Ferguson. He's one of their favorite fighters because of what he's done. And he's like, because of that star he crafted for himself of being this vicious, violent, just absolute like barbarian in the cage. And like, he's not that guy anymore. He just isn't.
You'd like to think that people close to them could talk to them, but I just think, remember Anderson Silva, when he was considering retirement, talking about how his sons were telling him, we don't want to see you fight anymore, Dad. Like, please stop fighting. Where are we 10 years later? He's still fighting. Granted, he's not getting knocked out and stuff, and he's doing fake matches against Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
But he's not out of the game. He's still taking damage and punches to the face. I'm sure he's still taking damage in training. So, like, even his sons have told him that, and he's like,
that's
weird.
That's the thing. Even if we do like Dana has responsibility to, you know, try and stop. Like you said, it won't stop.
So, to the point of this whole thing, so who's he fighting? Tony's fighting Michael Chiesa, and I was just looking that up a second ago. Michael Chiesa is also on a 3-fight losing streak.
Losing.
Tony is on, what was it, 7 now? I've lost track by this point. Yeah, we're getting up there. So, what happens if Tony wins? Either one should be getting, like, let's be honest, they should be getting let go after this. Michael Chiesa is, a great fighter. He's contributed things, but he's not a Tony Ferguson. He's not a BJ Penn.
Yeah.
4-fight losing streak. He's got a backup job. They won't feel that bad about firing him, and that'll smooth things over because it's like, well, look, we've got this nice desk for you to sit at, and you can do that.
Would you have rather given Tony just another killer, just to be like, hey, Tony, there's no way you can win. Understand this. Or are you just going to keep giving him guys that he can maybe win against? But they used to do that all the time. They used to be like, you can't beat this person.
Well, he did kind of get that treatment. Early on this skid, it was like he kind of got that. He got beat by every next up-and-comer.
Oh, yeah. And it feels like it should be a safer fight where he's not going to get blasted with punches. But I remember when Damian Maia fought Condit, And he took Condit down and hit Condit with a punch and then choked him out. And after the fight, Condit was like, that punch he hit me with on the ground made me realize that I need to retire because it like wobbled me and like I shouldn't be taken. So like I'm not necessarily like super okay with the fight anyway, because Chiesa could still just destroy him and do loads of damage.
I don't know, if you're on a 7-fight loss streak and you're doing crazy shit to like try and prepare for a fight, I think we've come to the conclusion that nothing's gonna get through to Tony.
Is there any fighter like Tony Ferguson where it's ended well? Like Chuck Liddell, not ended well. Vanderlei Silva did not end well.
Like a big streak, you mean?
Well, no, just what you were talking about, his blood and guts kind of style.
Is Robbie Lawler? Because he was losing quite a bit.
I think Lawler's career
Oh,
did
okay,
quite
yeah,
well.
Lawler. No, that's
Lawler's
it.
He had a
career.
good moment going out, but he retired. He did the right thing.
What
Yeah.
do you, what
I know
do
he
you,
was losing
on
for a
wins.
what do you
little
say
bit,
about,
but-
Robbie's different obviously, but like even Fedor, I don't think that was necessarily too bad, you know?
Well, he wasn't really like blood and guts back and forth. He was like just dominate fucking everyone. Fujita lands one big shot type kind of thing. But Big Na had nothing for him. Crow Cop had some good moments in their fight, but generally speaking,
He was quite
Fedor was
dominant.
dominating that fight.
Sure. No, you got a good point there. He was quite reckless, but he was quite dominant. So like, you know.
It just kind of makes you think that is the UFC now at a level where they should absolutely be looking after the guys that are making them billions of dollars well after their career has ended, financially and medically.
Yeah, so I pointed this out in one of my videos, the video that I wrote about how the UFC has broken their own rules. And it used to be, back in the day, after every fight from a fighter that was legendary, it almost seemed like he was pushing them into retirement. I remember when BJ lost to Frankie the first time, not the second time, Dana was already talking about retirement. Already. Forrest Griffin, I think he went on a win. I know it was against Tito, but he went out on a win. And yeah, Dana was wanting him to retire, and he did retire. The saying that Dana always used to say is, I don't want to make $1 of that kind of money. Like, he would always say it that exact way. And at some point that went away. You know, it's crazy to think after Frankie Edgar's first loss, he was saying that. And then here he is putting up against Yair. Here he is, Ryan Hall, like all these guys. At some point, I think the dollar took over.
Yes,
I just
100%.
straight up think that.
100%.
And I do think there is a part deep down inside that maybe about specific guys he kind of cares about. I'm not saying he doesn't care about, BJ Penn or some of those legendary guys at all, but I think the dollar just overshadowed it, because if you care about them and that's what you're saying, but you're doing that, something's not adding up.
People like Chuck Liddell, he already had a personal relationship with. He was his manager. Guys like Forrest Griffin, you're always going to have a soft spot for Forrest Griffin, because Forrest Griffin is the reason the UFC is where it is at.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a bias towards those types of guys. You want to look after those guys, because the reality of it is, without Chuck Liddell, without Forrest Griffin, there is no UFC.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a really
But
good point.
there's a UFC without fucking Tony Ferguson or Michael Chiesa or any of these guys.
Why are we keeping Tony Ferguson around? I firmly believe that his star power is not there. I worry for him when he gets in the cage. I don't tune in to be like, Tony's going to do it. He's going to fuck. I don't believe in him.
But you will watch it though, Leek.
I'm not going into it thinking, I need to watch this fight. I'll see the fight because I'm watching the card, but I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to pay attention to it like I'm really taking it in. I don't want to see him smashed up for the sake of it. I'm not here for that. I'm not. That's not.
Well,
What's the
so a
point?
lot of people are, let's be honest. The reason I want to do it is this might be the guy's last fight. I want to see him lay those gloves down. I want to see that. I do want to see if he gets a win.
That's the best outcome. If he retires.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy for him there. If he goes out on a win, that's great, because he proved to himself that he did have it. But just to see that side of him that understands that, it's time. Even though you won, it doesn't matter.
I mean, the only way that I see that happening is if the UFC says, hey, man, win or lose, you got to put those gloves down. We're not bringing you back in. Even then, he might not choose to do that, and he'll just go to PFL and get fucked up over there. I don't know.
Bare knuckle.
Versus
Knuckle,
Mikhail.
yeah.
They're going
Oh
to pay
my
him the money at
God.
bare knuckle.
Yeah, he probably will do bare knuckle.
Oh, I hate life. All right. So everyone give me a one-word emotion. Mine is no.
Oh,
That's not an
for
emotion, that's a
Tony
word.
fighting?
No, one-word emotion.
Oh, okay. One word with an emotion. Okay, go on. What's yours?
Don't have any.
I would like to think about my word, but I haven't got time.
No,
so.
don't worry about it.
Wait. No, say the first word that comes into your head. First word.
Careful.
I've got a lot of words.
That word could
what you
literally apply
guys
to
can do
anyone's situation.
is if you want to watch a
Don't cut us
podcast,
He's
the whole thing where they
This is
just
a
try and figure
mutiny.
out words for 40 minutes, you can pay $2.99. So how about that?
the,
He says
produ-
a lot more words than
the
inevitable.
producer power just took over.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you gave me that power
Yeah.
to just go for it. So
Wow.
I'm gonna do
Okay.
it.